Venezuela crisis. Yeah, good morning to each and everyone. Couldn't get to do it live yesterday. Yeah, man, cause internet I go and come, but still upon the Venezuela crisis. And I mean that take place in the Caribbean. But I know everybody's supposed to know that Nicolas Maduro get caught by US Delta Force and actually appear in court already in the United States. I mean, and drugs charge and ammunition, or weapon should say. No, there is something fundamental about this, the whole scenario around the Venezuela crisis, right? The Venezuela crisis never just start a couple of weeks ago with the United States locking off the airspace of Venezuela and surrounding Venezuela, and then went in and captured the Venezuela president. This crisis started from 2002 with Russia invading the country of Ukraine, right? And I don't know if Putin look at and accept that amount of changes that its war with Ukraine caused in the world, right? Well, they follow me closely. The war with the fall of Syria is because of the war with Ukraine and Russia, right? And we all know that Syria was one of Russia number one supporter, right, against the West, right? And because of the war with Ukraine, Russia lost one of its stronghold right there with Syria. Come back again. The crisis in Venezuela stemmed from the war with Ukraine and Russia. And also, Iran now is on the brink of falling, right? And the crisis in Iran also stem from the war between Russia and Ukraine. Why? Because Russia is simply not winning the war against Ukraine, right? And because of that, the pressure blowback and these kingdom that Russia used to help to protect, like the Iranian kingdom, the Syria kingdom, and the Venezuela kingdom. So, because Putin is dedicated to the war in Ukraine, he actually left a void in helping his friend. And because of that, the blowback is that now one person now is also threatened, and it is Xi Jinping, the president of China, right? I mean, know that the plan between Xi Jinping and Putin was this: Putin would go in first and take Ukraine, and then Xi Jinping going after and take Taiwan. But I can tell you now that Xi Jinping don't want to lose the China kingdom, and I believe that he will not try to take Taiwan, right? The blowback, the blowback of the Ukraine Russia crisis is basically changing the world order right now. Very, 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 very fast and quick. Right? Syria fall. Iran is on the verge of fall. And right now in Venezuela. Because in Venezuela right now, people are currently fretting because they are saying they don't know what is coming next. I want you to understand that there are two stories to the Venezuela crisis. You have one set of people that is outside of Venezuela, which are Venezuelan who they run away because of Nicolas Maduro regime. They are celebrating his capture by the US government, right? While the millions who live inside of Venezuela is basically marching and say, "Yo, we want back Nicolas Maduro." But me and you know that they are not doing this on their own, right? They are forced to do this because the Nicolas Maduro regime is still in place. Because remember, it is his vice president, the vice president, Nicolas Maduro, she's the one who take over and sworn in as the acting president for Venezuela. So we know the people of Venezuela is not acting off their own when they say they want but Nicolas Maduro to come back and he's the president of Venezuela. Because if that was so, so many people wouldn't have tried to escape Venezuela daily across the Colombia border. There are hundreds of thousands of people daily are trying to escape Venezuela via the Colombia border, right? And even though they escape Venezuela in Colombia, they are still fighting because I know that Trump say, "Yo, the president for Venezuela, for Colombia is a sick man because you know that in Colombia they say that the cocaine field in Colombia is like the size of the of London, like the city of London, right? That is the amount of the field, the area of the cocaine plots in Venezuela. That's how big it is, how large it is, right? And even though the Colombia president I give some tough chat, we know that the Colombia people is also an hedge too. You know what I mean? Wonder what is coming next. So I'm just saying to you that sometimes some people can go in and say they want to achieve something and not realizing the blowback effect that it have on other people. Right? So here is Putin. He have a plan, him go in, want to capture Ukraine, but yet still the blowback effect of that is that his stronghold or his friend kingdom around him is falling one by one. But I'm wondering now, in the mind of Putin, if he look into it and really see what is really going on and understand that just like how the Syria kingdom break, the the Iranian kingdom now is falling, the Venezuela kingdom is also breaking apart. I'm wondering if he don't realize that the Russian kingdom is also take time pulling away from beneath his feet, right? And I really wonder if the president of China don't see that to tell him and realize that, listen, after Syria and Iran and Venezuela, we the, we the Chinese can be next, right? So I'm wondering if none of his friend is not going to tell him that it is time now to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to an halt and stop the madness, stop the slaughtering of innocent people. I'm really wondering. But I know that the Ukrainian them kind of have some racist thing. They don't really like black people, but there are one thing about them that I cannot deny, and that is they are willing to give their blood, in order for their children to live in peace, right? All right. So let me say something up here. So, yeah, so I'm really wondering. No, just a minute. All right. We think Sorry. All right. So also there's a scenario stemming from the Russia-Ukraine crisis in which the continent of Africa now is also get caught up in it because we all also know that some of the countries in Africa, right, was held by countries like Russia to free themselves from the white man imperialistic ideology, etc., behavior and practice and etc. So some of these countries now never from Africa, some of these African countries now never want to take side and call out Russia as the aggressor in the war between Russia and Ukraine. They state that they are neutral, so they hold a neutral position, right? Because they never want to stand against Russia because Russia helped them in the past, right? But at the same time, they don't want to they don't want to upset the West. So they say that they are neutral, they hold a neutral position. But there's this one particular African country that I believe make a great blunder, South Africa. Because South Africa take a neutral position between the war between Ukraine and Russia. Now, South Africa has stepped forward and condemned the kidnap of the Venezuela president Nicolas Maduro, which I believe they should still stay neutral. Now, I never did know and realize that South Africa depend on America so much. And if there's anyone in South Africa that is watching, I mean, I would like you to comment on this. I get to understand that it's over 14, like something like $14 billion each year. South Africa depend on the United States, right, to give them $14 billion each year in order to run their country, right? And I get to understand that unemployment is high, like 31% in South Africa. You know what I mean? Electricity is not good every minute, failing, right? And there's lot of, but we understand that now that South Africa is coming from an era, in the apartheid era, in which um, things are not, you know what I mean, are not fully in place yet because these people was enslaved and, you know what I mean, and the black is just getting the opportunity to come to the table And even though the black is just getting the opportunity to come to the table, we still understand that the white man that live amongst them in South Africa, right, still has the power and still trying to pull the carpet from beneath their feet. You understand? So enough of the power grill failure and the unemployment, right, is a part of sabotage, right? It's still part of sabotage on behalf of the South African them. Because we understand that they don't want to see the black prosper on their own because that would give a different would give an impression that you understand that the black can do without them. So they are trying to hold back the black in South Africa. You understand? But one of the things though that the African country must learn from all these dilemma and crises in the world is that they have to stand like unite more together, work together more, right? Come up with creative idea like the West together. 'Cause I believe that the continent of Africa can survive on its own, but we have to come together and work together more and willing to help each other. But there is also a power struggle in the kingdom of Africa. And I mean, those who support the army style and those who support the West style of democratic. So that is really the problem in Africa, right? So some are closer to the West with the West type of running, and some are closer to Putin and China with their style of leadership, you know what I mean, running the country, you know what I mean? One man, one man regime, you know what I mean? One man power, you know what I mean? But anytime Africa can sort out that and sort out which way, which side of the fence I must lean on, which even though I believe that democracy is the best way, right? It is the best way. Why? Because it gives each and every in an honest system, in an honest system, it gives each and every citizen an opportunity to come to the table and put their idea on the table, right? In a fair system. That is why I like that style, the West style of running a country more than one man say, listen to me, at the far way I move today. And I mean, I don't like that style of leadership. Anyway, this is my two bits and the whole Venezuela crisis. So I'm really showing you, and I mean, oh, well, I'm really focusing on the Venezuela crisis, but around the Venezuela crisis, I'm really showing you, I mean, how comes Venezuela get to be in the spot that they are in now? It's not because America just want to run into them and capture them president, but it all started from the war between Russia and Ukraine. So most of the crises in the world now, the Venezuela crisis, the Iranian crisis, we all know about the Syrian crisis that take place earlier on last year. All of these crises is stem or come from the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Right? Big up yourself, respect, and if you don't subscribe to Marshall, remember to subscribe to my channel.